Hello, this is Bentv Television News Roundup, a compilation of major stories in the week ending. I'm Tunde Alabi. Thank you for being part of the program today. Britain will be going to the poll on 23rd of June to vote in the EU referendum. The outcome of the referendum will determine whether Britain will leave or remain in the European Union. There are leading voices in British politics campaigning on both sides of Brexit and Remain. How do people see the referendum, and whose voice do they trust in the campaign to persuade them in their decision? Bentv Osharemen Okpalua has a report.
On the 23rd of June, Britain will be faced with one of the greatest decisions of whether to remain or to leave the European Union. Prime Minister David Cameron and the former Mayor of London, Boris Johnson, have both made it clear whose side they are on. I took to the street to find out whose opinion the people really trust.
That's my personal choice as to what I'm going to decide on the day, but I think there's enough information out there for you to make an informed decision whether or not you decide to go with the information that Cameron's telling you or Boris is telling you. There's enough information out there to make your own informed decisions without listening to them too.
So I think they both lie, they just want to, if we vote for them, but I think the better thing is to stay in Europe. Yeah.
Community, if we come out, there's going to be a lot more trouble and paying visa and all of that stress, and all the people that have been here for long enough, they're just going to send back, and I think we should stay in the Europe community.
Not only that, it's about the food. It's going to be more expensive because now they go from other different country, which is good. Everybody happy with this. And I don't know.
Well, basically, I'm not English, so I should trust Cameron, obviously, hoping that they will stay. Even if I don't have any problem, because anyway, I'm living in England for more than 3 years, so it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, there are advantages and there are no advantages in both of the cases. As a person who comes from abroad, obviously my opinion couldn't be different from staying with Cameron. It seems quite obvious.
So you think if the UK leaves the EU, it's going to be a problem for foreigners?
To be honest, I didn't read probably enough about this, so I don't know yet what's gonna be exactly. Also because they might say half of what they wanna say, really, because maybe they just don't wanna explain everything to everyone. Otherwise, people could be scared about to vote in a way or in another way. But yeah, well, definitely it won't be better, probably, definitely. So if England will leave. I don't think only for foreigners. I mean, also for the same for the citizens, for the country. Anyway, there are, as I said, there are advantages, but not only. So, yeah.
I believe that we should remain. At the moment, we have status quo, and I am all in favour of homeostasis. And nobody has actually put forward a viable or indeed any kind of clear plan for what we'll do if we exit. It's very much a case of, right, you can have this, or we have the mystery box. And, definitely, yes.
Thank you very much.
I think that Europe gives us a lot more strength. It is responsible for many of the advancements that we've had. And I think that we would lose a lot by leaving.
Thank you very much.
I think we should stay in the European Union. It's just a lot of reasons. One of them is we have a lot better control looking after things like the environment and wildlife and things like that, being in the European Union, managing things that don't obey borders. But it just makes sense. There's a lot of scaremongering going on just now. And for me, I look at the people who want us to be isolated, and they're not necessarily very nice people sometimes. It's led by the likes of UKIP, BNP, and a lot of far-right people, and we're seeing a lot of that rising in Europe already. We need to work together to stop that.
No, I can't think why. I just feel there's too much going on that's bad for me, and I'm not happy with the situation in the country. No, I'm not. No, I think we'd be better off out. I hope so. What do you think?
Well, to be honest with you, I think everybody's concerns are always about immigration. And because of what's going on in places like Germany, and you've even got people now trying to get across to the UK, crossing the Channel, people are getting scared by it. They feel that the country's just going to be completely overloaded, and I think that's probably the major thing that's making people want to leave Europe.
What about you?
Me personally, I'm undecided. And I can see both sides of the fence, and at the moment I really don't know what way. I'm tipping more towards staying than I am leaving, to be honest, but I haven't made a concrete 100% decision yet, but I will do soon. Okay.
I think you need to listen more to what's going on. Yeah, you do. But at the moment, no, I'm not going to stay.
I would like England to stay to the Europe zone, as in like the loads of us like foreigners that come here, not because we are the foreigners, but because I think us part in Europe and in England here, living here, we make a lot of effort. We do like lots of work that other people won't make the effort to do it, as the English people and all this kind of stuff. And as I said before, like Europe is as in being in group. So if that's the point of being like a group of countries being together and fight for the best for the humanity, then everybody should stay in and try for the best for the humanity then.
I think we should definitely stay in, because it's better to be outward looking than inward looking. And also we know what we're getting with the in, but with the out, there's too many unknown factors, so yeah, we don't know.
It's quite difficult to know, because about the referendum. It's quite difficult to know exactly, because the referendum is coming soon, but it's quite hard to get the decision to know what is better for our country to.
So you're in between, you're not so sure?
Yes, I'm not sure if it's better to leave or it's better to stay, but I think it's better to stay. Yeah.
Well, I don't know at the moment what I would like to do, but I think maybe we should stay though.
I think so. The EU, as I will prefer is the living we better, because we are England for the many place, and including we are the restaurant, and every I will see the people a lot there is no job. Yeah, it's very upset something, and I hope so. We're leaving soon. We better.
Well, the debate on whether to remain or to leave has taken different dimensions, but it all boils down to what the people think and what the people vote for. So make sure you go out and vote. Osari Menopalua reporting for Bentv News.
The Member of Parliament for Edmonton, Kate Osamo, and our colleague for Streatham, Chuka Umuna, have said Britain's membership of the EU should not be negotiated for anything in the best interest of Britain. The two Labour Party members of Parliament were speaking at a Labour Party conference on Britain remaining in the EU.
To be hosting this Labour Remain press conference on behalf of the Women and Equalities team. I hope it will be an informative morning, setting out clear, sensible reasons why we as black and minority ethnic British politicians believe we should vote to remain. Also why we believe this vote matters for each and every one of us, now as well as for our future generations to come. And most importantly, I hope it will encourage as many people as possible from black, Asian, ethnic minority backgrounds to go out and vote on June the 23rd. Basically, Britain is better off in Europe. Leaving would create huge risks for our economy, our job market, and would threaten our protection against workers' rights. It would encourage racial and maternity discrimination, to name just a few. I am proud of these laws, and I'm proud that Labour is fighting to defend them. This debate is about what we have now, but it is also about our future. Contrary to the false choice argued by the Leave campaign, the EU is essential to continuing our strong Commonwealth ties and protecting diverse communities. We need to be thinking of working together and not shutting ourselves off. So I will end by saying this referendum is important to us as individuals. just as it is important to us as a country which has reaped economic and political benefits from being part of a wider European institution. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Chuka Ramana. I am the Member of Parliament for Streatham, which also takes in Brixton. I'm a member of the Home Affairs Select Committee, and I'm leading the Labour In for Britain campaign in London. And I just wanted to very quickly go through 3 specific points in a bit more detail. One is this false choice which has been set up between our EU membership and our Commonwealth membership. The second is the specific benefits that your readers, your listeners, your viewers, as different parts of our rich and diverse black and minority ethnic community, that they get the benefit from when it comes to the European Union. Third, I just want to say something about migration with my Home Affairs Select Committee hat on before just closing by saying something about our place in the world. Now, everybody on this panel, we are all children of the Commonwealth, and increasingly what you are seeing the different Leave campaigns seeking to do is juxtaposing our membership of the Commonwealth against our membership of the European Union. Now, this is an entirely false choice. It is a false choice because we do not have to choose between the two. It isn't an either-or situation, it's an and. We should be a prominent and leading member of the Commonwealth, as we are, and we should continue to be a prominent and leading member of the European Union, as we are. Not just because that is good for us, but it is actually also good for other Commonwealth countries too. And that is why there is not one current leader of a Commonwealth country who has said anything other than that we should stay in the European Union. So from Justin Trudeau through to John Key in New Zealand, all of the intergovernmental Commonwealth leaders, they are all saying we should stay in. And just take Prime Minister Modi of India's comments. He actually sees the UK as the gateway to the European Union. So we will have no truck with this argument that says we have to pick between our Commonwealth membership and our European Union membership, because we will have both. And why do we need to make sure that we have both from the perspective of ethnic minority Britons? Well, there's a lot of facts and figures that will get thrown around in this debate, and I suppose people are trying to navigate their way through. But let me just offer one on the economic side, and Seema's already alluded to this. I spoke at the British Independent Retailers Association. We know there are huge number of ethnic minority small independent businesses in this country. Now, if you look at our newsagents, people go to their convenience store every day to get their paper, hopefully your publication, a pint of milk, whatever it may be. 28% of the produce on high street shelves comes from the European Union. 28%, from cheese, chocolate, you name it. Now, if we were not part of the single market, those goods that you are selling to your customers, you would have to charge more for, because they would attract a tariff. I'll just give you an example of the kind of tariffs we're talking about if we left the single market and say we're having to trade under World Trade Organization rules. So, okay, moving beyond small independent businesses to something bigger, cars. You are looking at a 10% tariff on cars that we buy that have come here from the European Union. Clothes, 12% tariff. So the price that people are going to pay for goods if we leave the European Union is going to be somewhat higher than it is now. Do you have a big vision of what our country can achieve, or do you adopt a small vision of a small Britain lacking in self-confidence, sitting in the corner? That is not the Labour view of Britain. We will always think big and always want the most for our people, and that's why we want your readers, your listeners and your viewers to back Britain staying in the European Union on the 23rd of June.
Britain's exit from the European Union, if it happens on 23rd June, may trigger other member states of the EU to call for referendum, as approval of the European Union has fallen sharply among some member states of the EU. A residual as a report.
The Washington-based Pew Research Center interviewed 10,000 people across Europe. Their answers showed that scepticism over the EU is not confined to Britain. France views the bloc even more unfavourably than its neighbour across the English Channel, with just 38% of people having a positive opinion of the EU, compared to 69% in 2004. In Spain, approval for the EU has fallen from 80% to 47%. A British vote to leave the EU could lead to demands for similar referendums across the continent.
However, whether or not they'll succeed, it depends upon, one, what happens to the UK. If the UK struggles, then that sets quite a powerful message to the rest of the European Union. And secondly, it depends on what happens in the Eurozone. It depends what happens in Schengen. It depends what happens with Russia. The European Union faces several crises at the moment, and Britain is one of them.
A British divorce from the EU would likely be lengthy and bitter, says Oliver.
The rest of the European Union is looking to either punish the United Kingdom for withdrawing, so there has to be an economic cost. The UK can't withdraw and not feel any punishment, any costs and so forth, and get a new relationship with the EU, or else that might encourage other member states to do the same thing.
Pew researchers said much of the disapproval of the EU is related to its handling of the refugee crisis. Over 1 million migrants arrived in Greece in 2015. Disapproval of Brussels' migrant policies there runs at 94%. A simultaneous so-called Brexit crisis could push Europe to the brink.
They haven't solved each crisis, they've just managed to cope and move on and hope they'll find a solution later on. If several crises align at the same time, that puts the EU in uncharted territory, and that is quite dangerous.
Former British Foreign Secretary William Hague warned Wednesday that a British exit could sow wider division.
If we lift our eyes from our local concerns to the challenges coming our way within this continent and from beyond it, then the risks of leaving are too great. Above all, the danger of a divided, fractured and weakened West is one we must do our utmost to avoid.
With disapproval of the EU growing across the continent, analysts say a British exit could have much wider consequences for Europe and beyond.
To the United States of America, the United States is said to witness one of the fiercest battles for the White House in history, following the victory of the presumptive nominees for the two parties, Democrat Hillary Clinton and Republican Donald Trump. Democrat Hillary Clinton made history when she beat Bernie Sanders to get the required number of delegates to become Democrat presumptive nominee. Jim Malone in this report looks at the race between Clinton and Trump for the White House.
For Democrat Hillary Clinton, a history-making moment to savor. Now on track to become the first woman presidential nominee in U.S. history. But Clinton wasted little time in shifting her focus to her expected Republican opponent, Donald Trump.
We believe that we are stronger together, and the stakes in this election are high, and the choice is clear. Donald Trump is temperamentally unfit to be president and commander-in-chief.
Clinton defeated rival Bernie Sanders in 4 of 6 contests Tuesday, including the big prize of California. But for now, Sanders is soldiering on.
The fight in front of us is a very, very steep fight, but we will continue to fight for every vote and every delegate we can get.
We're going to be discussing all of the things that have taken place with the Clintons. I think you're going to find it very informative.
Donald Trump is also eager to take on Clinton, attacking her tenure as Secretary of State and the fundraising efforts of the Clinton Foundation.
Hillary Clinton turned the State Department into a private hedge fund. The Russians, the Saudis, the Chinese all gave money to Bill and Hillary and got favorable treatment in return.
But Trump remains in damage control mode after he accused a federal judge of bias because of his Mexican-American ancestry, a comment that repulsed Republicans like House Speaker Paul Ryan.
Claiming a person can't do their job because of their race is sort of like the textbook definition of a racist comment. I think that should be absolutely disavowed. It's absolutely unacceptable. But do I believe that Hillary Clinton is the answer? No, I do not.
Trump went too far for Illinois Senator Mark Kirk, and he withdrew his endorsement.
Just too racist and bigoted for the party of Lincoln for me.
New Jersey Governor Chris Christie rose to Trump's defense.
I've said this before, that I know Donald Trump. I've known him for 14 years, and Donald Trump is not a racist.
Clinton enters the general election campaign with a slight lead, says analyst Kyle Kondik.
make. It's kind of a choice between stability in Clinton and radical change in Trump. And voters may be a little bit more conservative, not in terms of politically conservative, but just in terms of not wanting to take a big risk. And I think that's Clinton's best pitch, is to say that Trump is too risky.
Kondik also predicts a nasty, character-driven campaign that will dominate the race for the next 5 months.
Meanwhile, women have been reacting to the victory and presumptive nomination of Hillary Clinton as Democratic presidential candidate.
Strides, and I think the sky's the limit, and it's necessary. It's time for this.
I will be able to tell my daughters that women can participate in all levels of society, that women can do whatever they like. Women are not second-class citizens in the United States.
I'm not planning to vote for Hillary. It doesn't mean much to me. If there was a different woman, then yeah, I'd be much more cool with it.
Seeing a prominent woman and a leader makes me, as a young professional, have hope for the wage gap. Being respected as a young professional woman.
It shows to me that really there aren't as many limits as I was brought up to believe for me, because I'm a woman.
Now to Africa, Malawi is said to have one of the world's highest rate of child marriage. Half of the girls in the country are married off before the age of 18, and nearly 1 in 8 girls is married off by the age of 15. A new law now in place to make 18 years the minimum age a girl may be married is, however, said to be in conflict with the provisions of the Constitution. I will review this in this report.
She's known as Chief Kachindamoto, and she's managed to break up 850 marriages involving children under the age of 18 in Malawi. She says nothing makes her happier than seeing some of the former child brides back in school.
I tried my best to see these girls to be a lot in classes. So as you can see, indeed, I'm a happy chief.
A hereditary tribal chief, Kachindamoto left her longtime job as a secretary to lead 900,000 people in central Malawi's Dedza district 13 years ago. In a country where child marriage is deeply entrenched in society, the chief has had a difficult but not impossible task.
There is mother groups, and we have these community policing, child protection workers who are looking each and every house to follow these children.
Judith Kabango was married at 14 and has a 4-year-old son. Kabango's marriage was annulled by Kachindamoto.
I wasted valuable time, but now I am in full-time learning and making a future for me and my child.
Stories like Kabango's are shared by countless girls in Malawi. Via Skype, Joyce Makandawire, Malawi's country coordinator for Rise Up, an umbrella organization that fights to empower girls worldwide, told us the story of Josephine.
At 15 years old, she has 2 children. This girl was married off at 12 years old. And the reason why, according to her, she said because of poverty and because she lost her parents because of HIV and AIDS.
With their help, Josephine is now back in school. Following advocacy efforts by civil society and people like Makandawire and Chief Kachindamoto, the country's parliament last year passed a law raising the minimum marrying age to 18. But the new law may be in conflict with Malawi's constitution.
The constitution itself still allows for parental consent under the age of 18. So we see this in many countries where there's a tension between the letter of the law and the Constitution saying one thing, a piece of national legislation saying another thing, and then customary or tribal law saying another thing altogether. And then the question is, how do these pieces fit together?
So we have for you on this news roundup for this week. I'm Tunde Alabi. Thank you for being part of the program. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye. As part of our continued efforts to reach the African and other ethnic communities in the United Kingdom with greater impacts and create the platform to to hear your silent and unheard views in this hugely growing community in the United Kingdom, our channel, Bentv, presents to you another live current affairs television program. Our focus on the program is to review and discuss issues around the diaspora community in the UK. The program offers you that unrestricted voice on issues affecting you in the UK. Join us live every Monday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Another business segment of Dialogue in Diaspora, 2 to 3 p.m. every Monday. But guess what? You know you can be part of the program. Just send us an email at bentelevisionuk@gmail.com. Dialogue in Diaspora, your voice, your opinion on our TV.